Bună dimineața și bun găsit la BU. Sunt Sabinei Iosub și vă invit să rămâneți alături de mine în următoarea jumătate de oră, căci o să discutăm despre ceea ce a ajuns aici la nivel european sub numele de Minority SafePack. Exact despre ce este vorba vă explică invitații mei. Today, here with me in the European Parliament in Brussels are Lorant Vincze from Romania. Thank you so much for your presence.
Thanks for the invitation.
And also Herbert Dorfman from Italy. Thank you so much for your presence.
Hello.
We will discuss in English in order to understand each other. Of course, it will be interesting for you coming from Romania to speak in English, but we will discuss also about how the minorities will have, let's say, more rights at the European level due to this safety package. All began with the citizens, from the citizens actually. More than 1 million that told the European Union that in general the minorities should have more rights.
Indeed. In fact, the Citizens' Initiative generally are an instrument included in the Lisbon Treaty that says that 1 million citizens from the EU can ask the European Commission to adopt legal acts in certain areas. Of course, they need to be areas which are included in the European conventions, so not outside the treaties. And in our opinion, minority rights are those type of rights that have not been so far legislated in the EU. It is a national competence, basically, but the court ruling says clearly that the European Union can adopt legal acts supporting the member states, supporting the coordination between member states in linguistic and cultural rights, in the diversity of EU in that sense. We are speaking about many, many languages and 50 million peoples in the EU who are part of a national minority or a linguistic minority who are in a different situation in their member state because the level of protection is not the same in the EU. We have very good examples of states where minorities have a high level of recognition and a very good framework of protection. Others are not even recognized as national minorities in their own country. And we are speaking about autonomous minorities who were living for generations in those countries. And we have in the middle many different situations as well, like in Romania, there are several rights granted to the minorities on individual level, but nothing at community level, so not autonomy level, as it is the case of South Tyrol in Italy.
What will actually change this minority package?
Well, I think, as Lawrence said, the situation in Europe is very different. I'm coming myself from a region where we have very good protection of the minorities.
Tyrol.
South Tyrol. I'm coming from a region where three linguistic groups, Germans, Latins and Italians, live more or less peacefully together. But it was a long fight to come to the rights we have now. I think we should really have a look how we can grant individual and collective rights to all minorities in Europe. This might be, as somebody said in debate here in the Parliament, a national competence, but it's also, as Lawrence said, it's highly European competence. We very often speak about the so-called European way of life, so our European style to live, and I think protecting diversity in Europe, protecting minority, protecting languages, protecting culture is a very, very important part of this European way of life. And I really hope that these initiatives, on one side, puts a pressure also on the national states to do something where the minorities do not have or have very weak rights or no rights at all, and that we cannot have also at European level some initiatives. I was fighting very much, for example, on the geo-blocking questions. Why, for example, I, being a German speaking, living in Italy, should not have full access to German media because there are laws which block, so there's the possibility for broadcasters and for streaming services to block contents. But there are a lot of other things which can be done at the European level.
This minority package will give some directions, let's say, to the member states. Will they be obliged to put these directions in order in their states, or it's just an advice, let's say?
Well, it depends on the type of the legal act that finally will be proposed by the Commission and will be adopted by the Parliament and then the Council. But hopefully it will set a positive tone. So in that sense, we believe we are opening a door and we don't know yet what is on the other side. So the fact that we are discussing today in the European Parliament about minority rights, that shows that so far this question has not been tabled on the agenda of the European institution. It was needed this signature campaign from the citizens, a direct signal that it is now debated and it is put on the European agenda. Everything, of course, starts with the languages. So the main element of the identity of each community is the language. How you can use your language, how can you educate yourself and your children
You're talking
in their
about
mother tongue.
having a school, for example, in the minority language, or going to do some legal papers and use your own language. That's the idea, in order for our viewers to understand.
Absolutely, but there are, again, very different solutions. Because in Friesland, for example, in the Netherlands, the Frisian schools do not exist. It's a bilingual education, which was accepted by the minority itself. In Romania, we have Hungarian schools, or if not the entire school is in Hungarian language, but we have classes where the most part of the education is done in a minority language. Same is in South Tyrol, but still there are examples where only the literature and the language can be taught in the minority language, and all other topics are taught in the state language, which is not a fortunate situation because all individuals speak in their mother tongue better, they dream in their mother tongue and they learn better in their mother tongue, while it is, of course, very necessary to learn the state language because that offers opportunities in life. But these are the directions where we would like that the EU supports the member states' actions and where the best practices are put in front. So what Italy in South Tyrol did in a cooperation between Austria and Italy actually is a very good example in that sense. And as Herbert said, there are 3 languages and among them a very tiny 30,000 speakers of the Ladin language, which is an ancient Rheto-Romanish language actually. And now they got the recognition of the Italian constitution just 2 years ago because it was important for Italy to protect that very particular language. So I think majority relationship needs a constant dialogue. And what we encourage with this initiative that the European Union takes on board this dialogue and supports the member states in that direction.
How big should a minority be in order to have all of these new rules be applied, theoretically, let's say?
I think this is impossible to define. As Lauren said, in my region, we have a very small Ladin community. It's 30,000 speakers, by the way, in 3 different regions. And we have, for example, the German-speaking minority, which is more than 300,000 native speakers. And both are doing quite well. I think very often we have this approach to a minority like a problem. And I think this is the completely wrong approach. A minority is not a problem, not for the minority, not for the state. A minority is an opportunity.
I think politicians made it a problem.
And if you look at my region...
If I'm realistic, politicians made this, Yeah,
if you look at my region, we not always lived peacefully together. We had a lot of problems because substantially this situation is a result of the problems of the last century. And once we were in, let's say, in a not peaceful situation, especially with the Italian population living there, the region was one of the poorest in Italy. Today, the problems are solved. We are the richest region in Italy, so we are not the problem. It's an opportunity to live there, because kids who go to school in my region, they have an open Italian labor market, they have an open Austrian, Switzerland, German labor market. I think knowing more languages is an opportunity, and this approach of some people to saying, no, everybody needs to speak the language of the state. We had it also here in the debate yesterday in the parliament. So no, it's important to have to speak the language of the state. This is a political problem, but for the people itself to be part of a minority and living in this situation, I think it's more an opportunity than a problem.
I fully agree that that it is a political matter, but you have at least two perspectives. One is, as Herbert said, to take it as an opportunity. But often, especially Central Eastern European states, took the minorities in their population as a foreign body in the body of the nation that has to be either cut out or it should be assimilated, so everybody should speak the same language and should respect the same rules, which indeed puts the two communities into confrontation. And it is bad for the society. It is better for each state if the minorities feel well in their life. Yes.
Okay.
If what can bring that satisfactory situation for them, an adequate legislative framework which allows them to feel at ease with their institutions, their education, with their media, and so on. And then they can be very loyal citizens of the state in which they live.
Can you define how big should a minority be in order to have these rules applied? Because let's take the example of Romania in the end of our discussion. You are representing the biggest minority in Romania, the Hungarians that are living in Romania, but we know that we have a lot of other minorities, part of them that are represented in the national parliament, part of them which are not, because they are even smaller. Will this rule apply for all, actually?
Who am I to tell who is big and who is small? I think minority rights are human rights. And
so even for one person, you're saying?
We should leave the communities to decide what is needed for them. And I respect a lot the other minorities in Romania, the other 18 recognized national minorities, who are satisfied with the legislative framework offered by the Romanian state, defined in the constitution, with the parliamentary seats guaranteed, and so on. But the Hungarian community is many more times bigger than those small minorities, and this Hungarian community wants more, wants another type of recognition, other type of legislative framework. They want to speak about collective rights, type of autonomy. What autonomy means? It not means necessarily borders. It means the right to administer your own schools, your own education, your own cultural institution, so that it is not decided in a small office in Bucharest if in Miercurea-Ciuc there will be a Hungarian school or another class or not. So that is
nor in Budapest, one might say regarding this situation.
Definitely not. But the support of the kin state is very useful. It is very needed. That it was in the case of South Tyrol from Austria that it was finally a bilateral situation that was found, and then they had to work a lot until they achieved this level of autonomy. That brought excellent result for the German community, for the Italians living there, and for the whole of Italy.
We'll see exactly what will happen here at the European level, what type of legislation will be actually in force after this signal that was made by the European Parliament. We'll see what will be applied in each member state, so we will discuss more about this subject. Thank you both for your presence. We will continue the discussion in a few seconds. So we will discuss more about this minority package with Romain of France. Thank you so much for your presence.
A pleasure to be here. Thank you.
It was a big discussion in the European Parliament regarding this minority package. A lot of MEPs were saying that in the beginning it was very, very hard and impossible to be put in place actually in the member states. It was adjusted in time. We'll see exactly how it will finalize as an act from the Commission. It will be a regulation or just a directive. We'll see in time. What do you think about this minority package? Will help the communities in general?
You must see this Minority SafePack initiative is it's activate from more than 1 million citizens in the EU, and very important. The rights and the situation of the minorities. We have more than 50 or 54 minorities in the EU. It's the situation is very important because the culture and the languages of our minorities is a wealth of Europe. And we must promote the languages and our culture, because Europe is not one main culture, and the minorities are very present in our countries. And I hope that the Commission take this Minority SafePack not only as a communication. I hope there is following a binding act, a legal act. That will be very important. But some things are, in my eyes, a little bit soft. And when we speak about the biggest minority in Europe, the Romani people, with more than 6 million people in Europe, their situation is very bad, because they need the possibilities to support, to protect their culture and their language. And that's the thing that in this Minority SafePack must be included, this topic, racism, anti-Gypsyism, how we can implement the fight against racism and discrimination.
So you are saying that, for example, for the Romani people, this is not enough, the minority package that was discussed here, and you actually want a correlation with another act from the European Parliament, that declaration that was underlining the anti-Gypsyism situation in the whole Europe, right?
That's right. I will tell you something about stateless people. In case of the Romani people in East Europe, in Romania, Bulgaria, we have really a big problem with people who are not registered. And that's a very bad situation, because they are victims of exploitment and of organ trafficking and all these things. And when you are not registered, you have no rights. And that must be a part in this Minority SafePack, that every human being who's born in the EU must have the protecting from, they must register it, that they can have his rights, and that his rights will be protected. That's very important too. And that calls, we must mention this in this Minority SafePack initiative, and we must only speak about, we need really a binding legal act.
In terms of protecting the language, in terms of understanding each other, is it enough? Is it too much? Because one might say, okay, we're going towards the road to autonomy in some cases, and it's not good for the member states. I've heard such criticism.
I think we can be very happy that in Europe we have this many languages. I mentioned it, that it's a wealth of Europe, the languages. And in the case of the Romani people, we have 200 dialects of Romani. And that's very much. And
but you are learning the language of the state in which you live in.
Yeah, but we are, of course.
It's important.
We are. I myself, I'm a Sinto. I'm a German Sinto, and I have my mother language is German and Romanes too. You know, I have two. And we have other minorities in Germany, like the Danish people, Friesen and Sorben. They speak their language and German too. There are two mother languages. And I think that's very important to know many languages. Our Romanes comes from the old Sanskrit. It's a very old language. And it's an Indo-Germanic language. And I think it's important to don't lose these languages. We need these languages because they told you a very nice story about the development of Europe and everything. And I think it's it's protectful.
We will see in the near future what will actually happen at the European level regarding these minority packages, regarding the resolution that was voted here at the European level. What is the most important thing to be done for a minority, actually, in your opinion?
To recognize the rights really. And
no matter what the minority is.
Yeah, that's important. I say for the many minorities, they are not visible. And look, when we go on to school, we must have the opportunity to learn this language too and to hear about this language. I think we need more attention about our European minorities. That's very important.
What's your message for the Romanian people?
To be clear that it's a wealth for Romania to their minorities, with all the culture and the languages. It makes Romania to Romania. We have not only one culture, a Romanian culture. It's so heterogeneous and so beautiful, and protect these many cultures in your country, because these cultures are your cultures too.
Thank you so much for your presence and for your comments. We will see each other soon at BU Talk Show.
Thank you.
Iar vouă, celor de acasă, vă spun să rămâneți pe Antena 3. Nu uitați că ne revedem și sâmbătă viitoare la 9:30. Cu bine și sănătoși să fim!